Hey, how's it going? It's Dan Campo here along with Miguel from the 365FlixCast. Today we've got actor James Bennett joining us. James plays Scarecrow, a badass mercenary in the premiere 365Flix film Attrition starring Steven Seagal. Today we're going to be talking to James a bit about his career and also what it was like to be part of the filming of the Attrition movie.
Thank you, James, for taking the time off your schedule to join us today. For those listening, let's start off. What was your breakout role in action and martial arts movies?
Hi guys. Firstly, hi. How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm not sure what my breakout one was. I've done probably 25 movies, some TV shows, and they all had had something different in my career. I think probably the biggest one I had in recent years up to Attrition was Jersey Boys with Clint Eastwood. And from then on, I started to get smaller parts and, more parts, and then they got a little bigger. And then I did Kickboxer Retaliation.
I saw you in that last weekend, actually, randomly.
Yeah, I did. I was the nunchuck guy in there.
Yeah.
And after that, then I did a movie called Kill 'Em All with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then I did Blackwater, where is Van Damme Dolph Lundgren movie. And then came Attrition, which to date is my biggest role. It's a really good role in a really good action movie with Steven Seagal.
Yep, for sure. You hold the distinction of producing, writing, directing, and starring in Ireland's first martial arts movie, Fatal Deviation, which I think is pretty cool as a dual Irish citizen. So please tell us a bit about that.
Okay, well, Fatal Deviation is kind of a unique movie in many ways for for many things. Probably one being it's kind of so bad it's good kind of thing. But, I was 19 years old. I wanted to be in movies from when I was very small. I was very young. I used to tell my mom I want to go to America. I want to become a movie star. I love TV shows, all action-oriented ones. I love the A-Team. I love MacGyver. Anyway, 1997, it was September 97, and I said, I'm going to make my own movie. Keep in mind, I'm 19 years old. I have no clue what I'm doing at all. I just had an idea on fight scenes because I'd watched so many fight scenes. I knew where to put the camera, and from doing karate demonstrations and stuff, because I've been doing martial arts since I was 4, I knew what looked like a hit and what didn't. Basically, what happened was we made this movie. We started shooting with one cameraman. That camera got all screwed up because we were shooting fight scenes in an old loft, in an old stone building, which doubled for a temple, with hay bales all around. So there was lots of dust. The dust got into the good camera and killed the camera. So we had to get a new camera, and then hence we had to get a new cameraman, and that was Shay Casserly, and we've become great friends since that. So basically, the three of us did the movie together. It was Simon Lynch, Shay Casserly, and myself. I came up with the whole thing, the idea. I started. I kept pushing it. We got it done. And, copies of it got out there. It's never been officially released. And, it gained a cult following among all kinds of, it spread out. First of all, it was like college kids around between 16 and 20 in Ireland. Then all of a sudden it spread to Europe. And, then people call me all the time or text me or email me and say, listen, somebody in America is showing Fatal Deviation at some club, at some bar. Someone in Italy was showing it like a year ago, and of course they all show it because they use it as an example of how not to make a movie. But it's very easy to tell people or look at someone's project and say it's horrible, it's bad, it's this, it's that. Be 19 with no experience in film and go make a movie, and then make the hardest type. Make a movie with lots of action, lots of fighting, lots of locations, and where you need lots of people. The hardest movie to make when you got a budget. Now you can imagine how hard it is when you don't have a budget.
For sure.
So it's there, so that's my Fatal Deviation story. But it was the best film school I ever had. In fact, it'd be the best film school anybody could ever have, is to try and make their own movie on the scale of Fatal Deviation.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said you started you've been doing martial arts since you were 4. How did you get started, and what specific martial arts did you train, or are you training in?
I started martial arts when I was 4.5, 5.
Wow.
And I come from a town in Ireland called Trim, County Meath, about 28 miles northeast of Dublin city centre. And it was they only had one martial arts school at the time, and it was Kenpo Karate. And it was an organization called the IKKU, Irish Kenpo Karate Union. And I joined up there, and I love karate. I loved it ever since. I've loved all forms of martial arts. I've since branched out. But then I moved on to Ed Downey in Selbridge, Ireland. And he's been my instructor for 25 plus years and still remains my instructor today. And he's in the Selbridge Kenpo Karate Academy. And so my background, my solid platform is in Kenpo Karate, which is a street effective style of martial arts. And then I've done jiu-jitsu, boxing. I did boxing from when I was very young also. And, Muay Thai. And I've done a lot of other systems of martial arts, but Kenpo is my foundation. Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
So you've been in the martial arts and movie game for a minute. You're known as Cement Jaw. What's the story behind that nickname?
Oh, Cement Jaw was a name given to me in high school because I got into a fight one day, and this guy had really fast hands, and he punched me 3 or 4 times in the head, and I just stood looking at him, and I said, "Is that the best you got?" And I hit him one time, and he collapsed. And then somebody just said, the guy's got a cement jaw. He can take a punch.
Nice.
That's how that came about. Back about 1989, that incident happened.
Wow. And
ever since, people call me Cement Jaw.
Well, there are worse nicknames out there. That's actually a pretty badass nickname, if you ask me. That's amazing. So you've done a lot of stunt work in your career, according to your IMDb.
Yes.
Was there ever a time in your stunt career where you actually feared for your life, or you felt you were in real danger, or is that just kind of part of the stunt game?
No. If I'm to look back on any time and I didn't feel it at the time, if there was any time I should have felt for my safety, it would have been when we did Fatal Deviation. But I was crazy then. I'm still crazy now, but I was really crazy at 19. I mean, the car crash at the end of Fatal Deviation, that's a real accident. That was not planned. What happened was, we were driving down a dirt road, and as you know, in Ireland, the roads get, there's a lot of rain, so the trucks, we were into this quarry, and and the quarry's in the middle, so there's like a big this big hole in the ground, and it's about like 60 feet below where I'm driving, and there's a dirt track, so of course it tends to pull the car. So the idea is I'm coming in to save the girl, and I'm steering this car with no seatbelt, hanging out the window with a gun, firing shots. And I lose control of the tire track on the driveway, and the car just goes off, and I just hold on tight. There's no seat, no insurance, there's no hand, and the car hits the tree and just rolls over twice. That was a real accident.
Wow.
That was real, and the cameraman was not even supposed to pan. He just panned. We were lucky he did, because we wouldn't have had. We planned to do in the car, but we planned to do it in a different way later on. And then there was another one where I'm running through an old stone building, and I jumped to take the 2 baddies out, and the jump was literally probably about 25 feet onto solid ground, onto grass. But nevertheless, the grass was hard. It's summertime in Ireland. And I just jumped and just jumped down between them, no problem at all. I mean, so if there were times that I should have feared, for my safety or my health, it should have been those times, but I didn't. But on any of the movies with Don the Dragon Wilson, or Beverly Hills Chihuahua, or Lone Ranger, or any of these other movies, Sacred Seal, no, I never feared. It was totally 100% safe. Yeah, I never feared for my health. And if I did, I wouldn't do it.
Have you ever had a really bad injury while working on any movies?
No, I had no injuries while working. The only injury I've had in my entire life has been a torn meniscus in my left knee. That was it, and that's all. I had surgery, I had all that fixed, so that's fine. No, I never been injured. I've never been injured in my martial arts career or in my movie career. Lucky enough, yeah. I'm blessed that way because I know have been injured many different ways. Doing both.
You're just full body cement, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then what's the biggest misconception about stunt actors? And do you think they get the recognition they deserve in the industry? I personally don't know too much about stunt actors, and obviously I don't. So it's really interesting to know just sort of like how far do they go out of their way to do these stunts, or is that more, is that still happening, or is CG kind of taking everything over?
Well, I don't know that there is a misconception about stunt actors. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think in a lot of cases they get the recognition they should get. Meaning, like, I think there's now a stunt awards here, I believe, in Hollywood. It's a new thing. I think the Academy Award should recognize stunt players for sure. I think they've been trying to push it, but I don't know what happened with that yet. But there is some other awards here. And there's little small kind of organizations award stuntmen for different things. I know there's one in Hong Kong as well, but of course the Hong Kong guys do a whole different level of stunt work. So it depends on the budget. I think it depends on a lot of things. I think if you go back 30 years ago and a guy was hanging off the side of a building, I think he was hanging off the side of a building, and there was probably crash blanket underneath him. So I think today, I think he's probably hanging off a wall in a studio with a green screen, and he's probably about 20 feet up in the air.
So what advice would you want to give to a young martial artist looking to break into the film industry?
Based on whether he would make the chances of him making it or not making it, or just period as if he was going to make it. What would you?
As if he was going to make it. What path would you send him on? Advice, tips, him or her? Say.
First of all, he's got to have a legitimate background in. He's got to have gymnastics and or martial arts. Because they're going to hire him or her for fight scenes, for this, for that, blah blah blah. So he has to be able to throw himself around. He has to have representation, and he's got to network like hell. And they got to be nice people, because everybody wants to work with a nice person. Nobody wants to work with a difficult one.
Right.
That's really it. You got to have some physical background as much as possible, and you got to have representation. Because otherwise you're kind of like a fox just running around in a circle trying to grab his tail. You'll get work, and but it can take a very, very long time, and it's hit and miss sometimes. Plus, also, you don't get a lot of work if you don't have representation, because they just don't accept you. They say, we won't accept this material. We'll only hire somebody who comes through legitimate representation. So you got to have that. Plus, you got to have a desire. You got to have a burning desire. You got to have the tools of the trade, and you got to have the desire as well. They're the things you need. If you have them, coupled with a little bit of luck, which is the right time and the right place, you can do really, really well. But without that little bit of luck, you can be the best at anything you do. And if you're not in the right place at the right time, it doesn't matter. It's that simple.
Ooh, it's so true.
Wise words from James. Listen up, kids. And switching gears a bit here, moving on to Attrition. How did you get involved in the film?
There was a producer who knew me, and he hired me for the role. I was initially supposed to play the role of Hollywood, and when I arrived in Thailand, they had changed my role to Scarecrow. So that's how I ended up playing Scarecrow. But I had worked with this producer in the past, and he had talked to Philippe and said, I want to bring this guy in. His name's James Bennett, blah blah blah, and that's how it came about.
Awesome. Was there any special preparation you had to do for the role in Attrition?
Yes. Well, I play Scarecrow, and he's a sniper. He's kind of the guy who looks out for the group. You have Steven Seagal play his Axe, and then he has a team of mercenaries that he calls in to help him solve the mission. And, I'm the sniper in the group, so I kind of look out for them, take care, make sure, that it's safe before they go into a building, so on and so forth, take the guys out, whatever. But yeah, I had to do some sniper training, get familiar with the rifle, get familiar with how a sniper would operate, how he would, conceal himself in public, how he would carry the rifle, how he would set up the rifle, all different mannerisms, how he would work, and but mostly it was just how he would work on a mission and how to use the gun, how to set it up, how to put it away, because it all has to be done, as you know, very sharp. So that was a special training. But I did that. I was in Thailand for 4 weeks, and I spent probably, out of the 4 weeks, with the military advisor they had 2 military advisors. I worked with both of them, and I probably spent a good week just, playing with all that and making sure I had it down for when it came to shoot the scenes.
Okay. So how do you stay in such great shape? What type of diet or workout routine do you follow for those looking to start working on their 2019 beach body? Asking for a friend.
Low fat, high protein, medium carbohydrate diet, and train hard. When I do cardio every morning at 5 a.m., I'll get my heart rate up to somewhere between 180 and 185, and I'll sustain that for about 30 minutes straight.
Oh.
And then I'll go in later in the day and I'll lift weights, and that keeps the muscle. But it's 80% what you eat.
Really?
It's 80% what you eat. If you eat clean, what you put inside your body is reflected on the outside.
Great info for everyone looking to get in shape for summer 2019.
You got to be tenacious at anything you do. You want to be an actor, a stunt guy, you want to be in great shape, you got to be tenacious. If you're not tenacious, it doesn't work.
Attrition is a really fun action movie. It sounds like you have a lot of fun with what you. It sounds. I can tell that you love what you do. You're passionate. You find it fun. What do you think? Which scene in Attrition was the most fun to shoot? I know you mentioned the sniping one, but what other scenes do you feel were really fun for you?
I find it all fun because I love doing it. But the ones that stick out, there's two. There's the one where I'm actually sniping from the 40th floor of a building in Thailand, and we were up there for the entire night, actually on the roof, 40 floors high, maybe more. It was very high. We were overlooking Thailand, and doing that scene was really fun. It was raining at the same time. It gave it a lot of atmosphere, and at the same time I was in a jacket. It was very humid. It was hot, but it's, where I run into position, I take the rifle, I assemble it, I gauge it all up. I have the guys in my sights, I take them out. And then the other one is the one where Steven Seagal's character Axe meets his team for the first time at the table. That was a fun scene to shoot. It was just an interesting scene. It was a very important scene in the movie because, he explains why we're there and where we're going. But it was a fun scene to shoot, and it was very interesting. And it was just kind of nice sitting there with Steven Seagal at the head of a table telling you who you need to kill.
Do you think your 19-year-old self would believe you if you told him that you would be in a scene getting told by Steven Seagal that you were on a mission?
When I was very young, I used to imagine all that stuff all the time. I used to watch all his movies. I watched them all. Nico, Hard to Kill, Out for Justice, Marked for Death, Fire Down Below, On Deadly Ground. I watched all his movies. They're awesome movies. He's really good on screen. He's got a really good charisma. I mean, he's just kind of, and he's also, when he takes no prisoners, he's very sincere, he's very direct, he's very straight to the point. There's no BS, I like that. And he's for real. He's an excellent martial artist. There's not too many people out there with his background. I mean, he is legitimate. When we were on that set, shooting the scene where we're at the table, because he knew Ed Parker, who was the founder of American Kempo, and that's the system that I've been training in since I was very small. And we were talking in between setups, and I was saying, a Kempo guy would defend against a punch this way. How would an Aikido guy do it? And, he stood up and he put some Aikido locks on me and stuff. And, it was pretty cool to experience that, because if you want to be thrown around, you want to be thrown around by Steven Seagal. If you want to be knocked out, if you want to be punched in the face, it should be by Mike Tyson. That kind of way.
Yeah.
There's certain people, when you experience something, you experience it from the best and from the top. And I wanted to experience that. And not that I doubted it. I didn't doubt his skill, but I was always brought up in martial arts with there's a term in Kempo: feeling is believing. And he put those locks on me, and he had me in knots there for a couple of minutes, and that was interesting. And that was very
pretty much answered my next question, which was, what's it like working with Steven Seagal? Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I really liked working with him. He comes on the set, he knows his stuff, he's very quiet, he's very sincere, very calm. I really like working with him, and of course he's a profound martial artist. I mean, he really is. He has a background, like I said, that most people dream of. I mean, he went to Japan. He studied Aikido in Japan with the legitimate masters for many, many years.
He's the youngest, I think, to ever open a dojo in Japan, or the only foreigner, or something like that.
Quote me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the first foreigner to ever open a dojo in Japan.
Yeah,
yes, it is. It's true.
Yeah.
I believe he is. And then, he came back to America, and he had a dojo in the Valley. And that's where he was training the agent that said that stuff's kind of cool. Did you ever think of putting it on camera? And that's how he started his first movie, Nico. But, I mean, I really liked working with him. His energy is really good. He's very sincere. On the last day we shot, I think we were actually, himself and myself were the last actors to finish shooting on Attrition. And he was in his trailer, and he sent the assistant to call me to go into his trailer. So I was in his trailer with him for a while, and we talked about various things, and he was very nice. I'd love to work with him again. He was really great to work with. Yeah, I liked him a lot.
All right, I think that you kind of also answered the next question as well, which was but we can kind of get into it as well. So you're obviously a big fan of Steven Seagal. We are big fans of Steven Seagal as well. What impact do you feel Steven has left on action movies, martial arts genre as a whole throughout his career?
Well, it's profound what he's left. I mean, he's probably responsible for putting more students in martial arts schools around the world than anybody else. And definitely he's the one responsible for the popularity of Aikido around the world. I mean, there's no doubting that. I travel a lot. I talk with a lot of Aikido people. I talk a lot with Kempo people. I talk a lot with various martial arts people from different systems. And, one particular gentleman I spoke to about a year ago, it was actually in Ireland, and he said he was so happy that Steven Seagal did Aikido because when Steven Seagal's first movie, he was an Aikido guy. When Steven Seagal's first movie came out, he had an enrollment that quadrupled because everybody wanted to learn Aikido. Wow. So his impact on the martial arts community is profound, and his impact on action movies is profound. I mean, he's done some of the best action movies of the last 35 years that we watched.
Yeah.
I think his impact's profound in both worlds, action movies and martial arts, and I think it'll live on forever.
Yeah. Speaking of actors and directors, which actors and directors would you like to see Steven work with in the future?
This is what I would really like to see. Now, this is something you might want to cut out of this interview. And I mean this seriously. I mean, I don't want to upset anybody. I would love to see Van Damme. I would love to see Van Damme.
Oh God, yes. That's a childhood dream of mine to see.
I would love to see Van Damme and Seagal in a movie because they're both very charismatic, but it's different charisma. Yeah. Van Damme is that kind of jolly, wacky charisma, and Steven's that very sincere. If you fuck with me, I'll rip your head off. Charisma.
Yeah, rip your throat out.
Yeah, Steven's very fast handwork, and Van Damme's got the kicks. So I think that together.
Yeah, I think it's time. It's time.
I would love to. I would love to see that.
So, what is your favorite Steven Seagal movie and quote?
My favorite Steven Seagal movie. It's hard to pick one. Probably Above the Law.
Yeah.
Probably Above the Law, and his quote. Yeah, you think you're above the law? You ain't above mine.
Ooh.
Or there's one he uses in Out for Justice. It's really a badass one. I don't know. I'm going to give it to you. I don't know if we can use it on the podcast. What he goes into he's looking for Richie when he goes into the bar.
Classic.
And he goes, I'm looking for Richie. And why he ain't here? He ain't here because he's a chicken shit fucking pussy asshole. That one I really like too, but I don't know if we can use that.
He puts the pool ball in the bandana and just cracks teeth, and that's awesome.
Yes. That's one of the lines I always remember him for. But also Above the Law, where he says, "You think you're above the law? You ain't above mine." I like that quote. And it's clean. There's no profanity there. It can be used anywhere.
It's great. It's a great one.
But to narrow it down to one movie, it's really hard because I really liked all his early ones are really, really good movies.
Yeah, the corner store scene's awesome too, where he gets on his knees. That's
where he says to the guy, "Oh, you think I'm too big? Let me kneel down." And it's great stuff. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the 365 Flix platform?
I think the Action 365 Flix platform is excellent because we have. First of all, we can watch the movie Attrition on it, and then we can interact with the actors, the cast, the crew, and I think it's really going to be awesome for the fans. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Projects you're working on, or anything coming up?
Yeah, I am prepping for a role in the new Fast and Furious movie. I'm going to be shooting that, I believe, in early 2019.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome.
There's some other projects that, I've been approached about, and I don't know if they're going to happen yet. And then I'm working on my own one called Double Edge. That's going to bring some Western action guys and some Asian action guys to the screen together, and we're going to shoot that in Thailand. That's going to be shot approximately about April next year. So that'll be a fun action flick, with some really good action set pieces. We're looking at some really good actors, and so that's what's on the horizon for now, guys. Yep.
Okay. And where can they find you if they want to find you on Facebook or Twitter or anything? How can they find you? How can people find you, James?
Find me under James Bennett.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, James. Thank you.
Okay, guys. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.
Thank you so much, James, for taking the time off and answering all these questions. And for not only us, but for the fans listening, we appreciate it so much. You phoning into the studio, and we can't wait to see you on your future projects. And anyone who wants to know, they can find James online at James Bennett. Thank you so much. What do you got to say for us, James Bennett? Take it away.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. And I'd just like to say to the fans that the 365 Flix brings the stars to the fans. To say, guys, thank you for joining us on the 365 podcast. Peace out. Talk to you soon. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the 365 FlixCast podcast today. Make sure to download 365 Flix on your iTunes Store or Google App Store. For more information on future releases, the affiliate programs, and superfan programs, visit 365flix.com. That's 365flix.com. This episode of the 365 FlixCast podcast is brought to you by Attrition. Attrition, only available on the 365 Flix platform. After After years of combat, Special Ops leader Axe struggles to cope with the endless death he has both caused and witnessed during his time as a killing machine. Axe removes himself from conventional society and finds himself deep within the heart of the remote jungles of Asia, where he tries to come to terms with the life he has lived. But when local girls start to go missing, Axe's inner warrior rears his ferocious head. Determined to bring the girls home safely, he enlists his bands of mercenaries together for one last epic mission. Don't miss Steven Seagal in his greatest martial arts role in 20 years, Attrition, only available on the 365Flix platform. Don't miss Attrition, starring Steven Seagal, rated R.